Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where purpose meets performance. Hosted by business strategist and human behavior specialist Carly Pepin, this show dives into the real stories behind high-growth businesses. Let's bring life to your vision. Hey guys, so welcome to the podcast today. This one's going to be a really cool one. So I have Matt Dorman here. Matt Dorman is the co-founder and president of Endeavor. Endeavor is a digital solutions agency helping manufacturers modernize outdated websites and CMS platforms to drive growth and efficiency. With 30 years of experience, including building enterprise platforms for Time Inc. and Fox News, Matt bridges the gap between technology and business. At Endeavor, he helps leaders streamline workflows, align teams, and future-proof digital infrastructure. Known for making complex challenges simple and actionable, Matt shares practical lessons on how technology can fuel long-term growth and create resilient organization. So welcome, Matt. It's really great to have you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm
Thanks for
excited.
reading my long intro too.
No, I kind of like the intros. Whenever I get my intro read like before a podcast, I
Right.
sometimes I'm like, I don't know about you, but I get on and I'm like all rushed and stuff. And I just get on and I hear that and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. Thank you. Thank you. I feel grounded again.
Right.
So I hope it helps you that much as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right, well, let's get started. I would love, in your own words, just to share a little bit more about your business, what it does, just so listeners kind of know what we're diving into today.
Yeah, we're basically a technology services company. We specialize in web development. We're within that, we're really so there's web agencies out there that'll do creative marketing, design, everything. We do technology only. So we do the integrations with different marketing tech stacks, and AI now. We service in the intro. I've done probably 25 years of media publishing, websites, high traffic, high like user base that have to drive their profit through advertising, basically. Those types of sites are very similar, and we've been going to B2C sites for quite a while, but those are very similar in the sense that the messaging still has to be the same. You still have to create an audience, capture the audience, and keep them interested. And that's really what we've done through Endeavor. My partner and she and I founded the company about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago now. We've used to work in New York, and we kind of moved away, and so the whole team's remote throughout the US.
Awesome. And I'm curious too. So your strategy, where a lot of companies kind of give these one whole solution where the technology side is going to be dealt with everything else. What made you decide to focus on just that one component and that one niche? Why did you go that way in your business?
Well, part of it is because that's who we are. Both my partner and I are developers, essentially, had been for a long time. Obviously, we run a business now and have run teams, but that's the primary interest. We also worked with a lot of companies where they do all the things, but then they typically bring in partners that can do the technology very well. Sometimes that's because they're offshoring it, but sometimes it's because they want to bring in someone that equal playing, like as good as them, but niche down into, like for us, it's just pure technology. So we have big problems a lot of times, and then also just small problems that no one can kind of figure out why they can't solve it. We handle those both pretty well.
That's awesome. I kind of wish you had talked to Zoom earlier before we got on this call. I had a little bit of issues and I was like, what?
I tell a lot of people I use computers for my job. I'm not a real IT person.
Yeah.
We handle web problems.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool. I think it's really smart too, because it's like you're giving yourself that opportunity to focus on what you guys have mastery in, and have this team that's dedicated to being able to solve these incredibly complex problems, or even these larger companies that, are saying we have the full package, technically are reaching out to you to make it the full package, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious as well. So when we talked earlier, you mentioned that your culture is very developer friendly. So what does that look like? Like, how is your culture different, perhaps from someone and another company's culture, a normal culture that you would consider that makes it very developer friendly?
Yeah, I mean, one area is that, typically if people are familiar with web projects, it goes through a whole phase of idea, and then product teams put together some bigger ideas, design, creative, and then at the very end is the technical implementation, right? So if you think about a project timeline, typically the end date is usually not going to shift. So one area is like we make sure that that's when that can't shift, then we put more people onto it. When there's opportunity to shift, because like I say this because it's most people understand that projects go behind. It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Because extra things get added on, but typically that launch date can't move. So a lot of companies won't really, they'll just expect their people to work longer, work harder to get the same thing, or
Mhm.
just do things quote unquote faster, which is really just lower quality. And that's really not the way we do things. Both my partner and I can pitch in as owners, and we could do it. Our lead team can do it as well. So yeah, I mean that's we put them first, where most organizations will put the development team kind of last, which it is last in the schedule, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's actually it's really cool. That's a smart way to do it. It's interesting because I've worked at both types of companies in the past. One which did what you do, and instead of just adding all the extra work and making all the employees do it, they would bring in extra people, right? Because they're like, we're not going to get this deadline. And I've worked at the company that actually had me doing all the extra work. And ironically, I lasted way longer at the other company, loved it so much, appreciated it so much. So yeah, I love that you're creating that dynamic where it's not just about jam it out and it's crunch time. It's also like, okay, cool. Like, let's bring in some other people to make sure we can get this done. That's very cool. What else have you done with the culture? Because you said like development or developer culture is very different than other cultures as well.
Right. I mean, I mean, there's I don't know how to put it, but like most developers like to be headsets on, focused on their work, and don't distract them. And that's true to some degree, but adding in some kind of creativity around discussions, things like that that are almost scheduled throughout the day is another way where we're interacting with our team. Again, it needs to be scheduled because not even if it's a small percentage of the team, the small percentage that does not want to be distracted really doesn't want to be distracted when they're developers. And again, I'm saying that because I'm in that space as well, except I'm one of the ones that I don't care about being distracted. I actually prefer to be distracted. And that's typically why team reaches out to me when they need help.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, I like that because I think that dynamic as well is sometimes we forget developers are really creative. You guys are like creatively solving problems like all day, every day, like trying to figure things out. So I love how you're putting that together. And I'm curious as well too, is like because you have the developer culture, what would you say it's helped you with your dynamic in business, how you guys have been able to grow?
Um, I think part of it is just retention, not just retention of the team, but retention of our our clients or customers because we set the bar or we set kind of the boundaries very early on, so they're not expecting things that can't be done. And when you do that, obviously they're not getting let down because if you just say yes to everything, you're going to be letting people down almost. I don't know what percent. I'm sure marketing people put up numbers, but a high percent will be you'll be letting them down. It's like, oh yeah, I can't quite get it done. Maybe tomorrow. It's always done tomorrow, right? So both protecting them helps them stay around, but also really helps with our communication around project deadlines and things like that. It's worked out fairly well. It's not perfect. People still leave. Clients still can leave. You know,
Normal business stuff.
yeah, normal business stuff. And like the other part of it that we talked about, like that we're very focused on just technology, that's been really hard to sell over the years.
Mhm.
Like the idea that someone can come to us and then come to someone else to do the other thing. Well, a lot of people want to go to one place, and that makes sense
Mhm.
for some people. So that's where we either are being brought in by people that are already working with multiple different, I guess, vendors or just partners, or we're like you said, we're being brought in by a partner that was picked to be doing the whole thing.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting too, because I'm curious about that. Is there a specific type of individual that you find is the one that separates each component of the product or and says like, I want to work with you here and you here. Like, do you I guess even me, I hadn't considered it before we actually talked, like on the pre-call, like it didn't even come to a consideration for me. But I do want everything to be like the best of the best. And you're right, like usually not everyone has like the best of the best. And so, is there a certain type of person that usually actually understands how to seek you out, or is that something that you've gone out and tried to explain to individuals, to market and branding, messaging?
Some of it's education. A lot of it's when we worked with clients or worked with people, individuals at places, and then they move on to another place. They're like, well, this is how it worked over here, and that kind of a broadening the education a bit. The other area is when people have worked at agencies. So if
Hmm.
they've worked at agencies and then they're going to a brand company, they know how agencies deal with certain things. So they want to work with, best of breed across the board, if they're able to manage it. The hard part about that is that then you have to manage all those different vendors. And that becomes, my partner and I were actually talking about it today, is like not like when we're brought in, it's bad, but typically a
Hmm.
lot of times when we're brought in, it's because a couple of vendors are messing up. Also, that's where we're brought in to consult on certain things at a higher level. It's like, well, they've tried the multi-vendor thing,
Hmm.
and that's doesn't it's just not easy, I guess is one way of putting it. Especially if those vendors can't communicate to each other, or if they're not actually the best breed, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. So it's interesting because it's like if there's mistakes made, it's not just you coming in as the individual who's going to do the project. You're like,
Right.
we're just going to consult you guys on it. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just to
Hmm.
correct and kind of rewrite the ship, as far as like, well, we've done this enough times. We can just let you know like what you should be looking at, as
Hmm.
far as project planning and communication with the development team.
Okay. I'm curious as well because this is something I don't know about. Is there like a significant quantity of repeat customers that come in your particular industry, or is it mostly new customers?
Not in the industry. I would say the
Okay.
industry, there's a lot of churn, we call it. Our company, we've we've had very few customers actually over 10 years.
Hmm.
Under 30 actually. So most of them are long-term, and they're not just constant projects, but they kind of go back and forth between, they'll do a project for X number of months, they have something new going on, and then they'll come back
Hmm.
to us for another project. So it's for us, it's a lot of repeat kind of business and recurring revenue type things. But
Yeah.
in our kind of small scale consulting practice, it's not very common. For the big players, obviously, that's they do 5-year deals and it lasts decades sometimes.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because as you were talking about how you kind of come in and have to save the day, I
Mhm.
was thinking this must be building some sort of customer loyalty. Like,
Yes.
there's no way. Yeah, where even if someone comes in and they're like, okay, well, Matt and his company and Endeavor are the ones who actually came in and made this happen because you guys screwed up. Like, I imagine they're like, well, let's just go back to Matt.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing. Kind of works out for you when people aren't doing well in other companies.
It does. I mean, I've been doing consulting type work for about 18, because I worked at another company before this, and we got a lot of business from places that didn't do well. And
Yeah.
those years were a lot of the offshore development, where documentation wasn't done very well, and things like it was just expected to be done as well as it was when someone was sitting next to you, and it never was back then. That's changed a lot though.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I'm curious too, because when people come to you, like, what's your promise to them? Do you guys have something that they're guaranteed to receive as a customer if they work with Endeavor?
I mean, that's an interesting question. We don't guarantee like certain, like, oh, you're going to get X amount of growth or anything like that, because we don't control enough of it. But what we do promise is that they're going to have access. The point of contact is going to be myself or my business partner. So you're getting a high, like the person that's selling them on the work is going to be also the person that's going to be engaged with them, and they're not going to be passed down to the B team or the C team type of thing.
Mhm. Well, that's cool. What made you guys decide to have such that like high level of touch with your customers?
Well, it's easy when you're fairly small. But it's something that we've wanted to continue even as we grow, kind of growing the next level of teams being able to do the same thing, the leads.
Yeah.
Again, we worked with a number of, we worked with a number where we were the white label agency, and we were not really the C team, but third or fourth team down from where the deal was sold, and they have no clue who they're working with. And it's like that's not a good way to work with a long-term customer, especially.
Yeah, oh, it's very true. It's very, very true. And I'm curious as well, is what, like, as you were building this, the culture, like the dynamic of the development stuff, what is something that you basically didn't know in the beginning that kind of came forward as a result of building the company?
Well, the big thing was that we decided to go remote right away. So I moved out to Colorado and then we started the company. My business partner was still in New Jersey, and two business partners actually were in New Jersey. So, and then building a team remote was something we'd always worked on site. So it was very clear how to like, not really morale, I guess morale is part of it, but like team building exercises and just having fun. It's a very different thing when you're online, especially 10 years ago when a lot of people weren't yet. Um, so that was one area of like learning very quickly of how to build a kind of culture around everyone being at their home. Essentially, 'cause it wasn't like or going into an office where you're not working with your actual coworkers too. So
Mm.
that that's made it, I mean, that was a challenge then. Obviously, 5 years ago, everything changed and it's a bit
Yeah.
easier now. At least everyone assumes. I don't know if everyone's doing it better or not, but everyone knows that there's, most people are working from home anyways.
Yeah. Oh no, that's really cool. And when you decided to work from home, was that just like a budgetary thing, or did you think it would just work out better for the developers? Like,
Yeah, well, it wasn't actually traditionally work from home at the time. We were still going to kind of shared space offices, but quickly decided that, like I was saying, like you're not working with the people that you're actually working with at those places. So we quickly made it an option for people to work from home and then can't kind of put processes in place for not making sure that they were working, but just making sure that we knew how to communicate when people weren't working, was the
Mhm.
easier thing. So it wasn't, and definitely wasn't a budgetary thing because it actually costs more money to run a remote company if you're doing it well. So you're doing offsites, you're trying to get people. We do development. So we go to different trade shows essentially, but they're developer focused a lot of times, or they were
Mhm.
for a development team. So send people out, do the offsite there, do some team building and things like that. So those costs actually don't get less uh,
Yeah.
than just having an office, but they're not fixed costs anymore, at least. So you can,
Yeah.
well, on lean years you can just not do the conference. So that does help.
Yeah, and it sounds like the conference would be kind of a bonus as opposed to having the fixed cost. Like everyone does get to go to the conference, which I'm sure is really enjoyable for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really cool transition. Hey everyone, it's Carly. If you're really resonating with what we're talking about and want to get clear on what truly drives you, what your core values are, head on over to my website. In the tools and tips section, there is a free values assessment. And this is a quick exercise that's going to help you to uncover what actually matters most with you so you can lead and live with more clarity, fulfillment, and momentum. And I'm curious as well, like, so for companies that come to you and you're just doing things separately, right? How do you explain the value of kind of the things that you're not doing? How do you basically share with them that it's important that you're only focused on these dynamics as opposed to everything?
I mean, part of it is that so while we're only focused as a team, as the actual team working on the tasks, let's say, or working on the implementations, the integrations, that higher level kind of consulting work of myself, my partner, some of the other lead team parts of the team, they know what should be happening on these larger projects, right? So we're bringing that kind of guidance as well to know like, well, those types of changes, you, they might look really nice, but are they actually going to help you again with customer acquisition, customer kind of retention? Uh,
Mhm.
are those numbers actually going to be supported by the visual cool thing that you're putting on?
Yeah, I think that's also really helpful. We can get really excited about the way things look. So excited. Like, is that practical? Thinks females can relate to that sometimes in our shoes. Is that practical? No, that's cool. And I'm curious too, because even something we had talked about, which I thought was interesting, is the cash flow dynamic. So cash flow is a little bit different for you because of the expectations of how long these companies are
Yeah.
on average paying, your kind of individuals, the work that you do. So how have you managed to basically stay solvent while serving like these larger accounts and not getting paid simultaneously? Because that's definitely a really cool cash flow strategy that you would have had to create.
Yeah, I mean, as a just from the business side, having two owners very involved in the business, we don't have what people would consider overhead, right? We don't have just purely back office people that are not contributing to the company. We have services that do that, bookkeepers and tax accountants and the marketing things like that. But those are costs that we know are part of it, and we roll out into everything else. So, but our leadership is also involved on the projects. Billable hours are, that's how we get paid, right? So if we're contributing to billable hours, that at least alleviates quite a bit of the cost towards what some companies will deal with. And then we can also charge more for the level of expertise that we're bringing to the project.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Yeah, because cash flow, I mean, it's a huge strategy for everyone. I was just talking to another guest
Mm.
on the podcast on this one about the changes that can occur or not occur when we
Yeah.
don't have that cash flow.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, so I kind of got away from it,
Mm.
but like with cash flow, like we're net 45 on a lot of our bigger clients, and that can be, on newer ones, that could be net 65 or 70 when you didn't sign the SOW in time, you kicked off the work, and then you never got a PO. I mean, we're dealing with that actually right now. Didn't get the PO yet. We're a month behind in getting the PO, but we've already done all the work. It'll eventually get all caught up, but we've already, the way we run our company, we have quite a few reserves around,
Hmm.
for things like, especially when we're working with enterprise customers. And they're going like most 95% of always pay. They just pay slowly sometimes. But then once they do get on their kind of process, it's exactly the right date. And always is the exact right date. So you have to wait 45 days or whatever, but you can expect it to be then.
You can
And
expect.
cleans things up after, months or even a couple of years at the worst.
Yeah. Also, sometimes it's even a couple years at the
Well, I mean,
worst,
just
or
early on, right? When
huh?
we're working
Okay.
up with, and you're paying, so we're paying our people right away. We're paying all of the services right away for the things that we've provided them. So, if it's a new client and there's that much overhead, it can take the year to kind of clean that up, depending on how large, depending on the net 45 and when they actually got kicked off, and if they quickly adjust, or if we've had ones that'll kind of roll it back and eventually get on track.
Okay. So you guys have had to get really cash flow creative.
We
Let's put
have,
it
and
that
that's
way.
that's we split up a lot of things as owners, and that's kind of my role. I'm doing the financial side of things, and it's yeah, depends on again, we're in a pretty good state right now. Other than the one new client that we just onboarded, but it was actually an existing client, like an old existing client. We just added additional big services for the end of the year, the last quarter, and we're
Yeah.
a month into the last quarter, so
Yeah. Yeah.
be good
You're
to have
getting
that
there.
PO number.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. And so it sounds like even with the onboarding process, even with clients, like I'm curious how that goes. I actually haven't talked to anyone about that yet. Like I have onboarding processes with my clients that are very specific, and I'm curious what yours look like, how intensive they are.
We've tried to get better at this, and I wish we would be real, because I have, like, I'm part of a lot of agency kind of networks and things like that where I see where other people have doing things, and they've transitioned it from just doing the onboarding to check all the boxes to making it like the onboarding is part of the kind of what they do anyways, right? So they're getting that first exposure, and I never really thought of it that way until the last 6 or 7 months, even, where, yeah, that's kind of your first impression. And then I was like, well, their whole process is our first impression, but it's not really like that. Those first emails, the first, like, who you're going to engage with, making sure you're setting all the
Mm.
dates of when they're going to be getting the reports and things like that is really important. We're working on that. We don't have an automated system. We have it all documented, though, at least as we roll
Yeah.
on new clients. The one thing that's held us back is that not having a lot of new clients in a year. It's like, well, we did it, but we only did it 3 times last year. It's like, okay, well, we didn't really improve anything if we only tried it 3 times.
The downside of having your repeat clients, you're not getting to
Yeah,
test the onboarding.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's totally
Or the
fair.
offboarding. Thankfully, we
Yeah,
barely get,
thankfully.
so that's good too.
Oh, no, that's very true. The outboarding process is the one we all don't want to refine to
No,
perfection.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool though. When you first started working, did you ever think that you would have sort of changed the game of having those repeat clients, or was that just something that you kind of wanted to dedicate yourself to?
Um, I knew that I wanted to work with people, like, when we identify good people to work with, like
Yeah.
partners, customers, right, that I wanted to make sure we're going to be able to retain them. And the last company I worked for did actually a really good job at this as well for the most part. Um, they also retained clients that I didn't want to work with, though. So that was the one piece we kind of brought into this, where if we need to drop people, we're going to.
Yeah.
And that's, as an owner, that's that's a great thing to say and like, oh yeah, we're really good at it. It's like it's really hard to do though in practice, unless you're having a really good year and like plenty of new things coming in. So
Yeah,
uh,
I would also love for you to share more about that. I did
mhm,
that, and I did
mhm,
that when I wasn't having a good year, but
yes,
I wanted to refine my business anyways. And I said, I just want to wake up every day and I want to work with these people that want to work. They want to get to the other side. Like they just want to do things. And I can't show up on these calls anymore and in these meetings and stuff where we're not making progress. Like it's just, I don't want to be paid for it. I'm not having fun. And it was hard. So I'm curious for you, it's like, how did you even manage that? Because it's hard to let go of clients even when you're doing well.
yeah, we were doing where we thought we were doing pretty good. I mean, we
Mhm.
dropped two clients at the same time that we just didn't want to work. Well, it wasn't that we didn't want to work with, they just weren't a good fit at the time. And
Yeah.
immediately we had it was just a bad year, for a lot of people, and that a lot of people reduced or cut back for the remainder of the year. It's like, well, we just did this thing on purpose, and now all these others are cutting us as well. It's funny because those two clients actually came back later, with different people on the team, and it's now in their current clients actually,
Now it's a fit.
and it is a fit.
Yeah.
They needed change. We needed to adapt to them being able to change, I guess.
Yeah. That's interesting though, because it's true. It's not that the people aren't a fit. Genuinely, it's never the person. It's like the working environment that's created may not
Sure.
be the fit. And it's cool because it's true. Like sometimes you may let go of someone, but they come back later
Yeah.
when it is a working
Right.
fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for us only doing, very specific parts, in those cases, it was part of, great, not a great fit, but also that they were just giving us work that they didn't need to be doing with our team. Um,
Yeah.
they had an internal team, and it was just not work that we wanted to do.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's definitely fair. That's cool. And I'm curious as well, like even when you onboard employees, like do you have a specific process that you go through just to make sure that they're fitting into the culture, they're prepared, they're ready to go?
Yeah, we do.
Hmm.
My partner, she does HR, essentially internal HR. She has that she's the actual process person. I'm not. So there's from interviews all the way into offers and first day, and like what tools you need access to, and some of that's actually scripted as far as like clicking buttons, and then everything are just created. It is typically a lot of times we're hiring during times of also onboarding onto a client. Not always, but that's typically the need for hiring more people for a company like us. So that step again, we don't have the onboarding process great. So it's like, well, you're here, you got everything ready, and now we have to, teach you about the new client.
Okay. Okay. So it's a little bit more rushed, I guess, when there's a need.
Sometimes, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
sometimes. And I'm curious too with you and your business partner is how do you guys decide who does what? Like where do you guys figure that out?
Yeah, we when we first started the company, we thought, this was kind of we all agreed to this. We'd just take roles initially, and then we would just rotate them. I was like, well, that's a cool idea, but we actually have strengths and weaknesses, and that came out pretty quickly. Where now people have to do the things that they're actually good at.
Yeah.
Luckily, I kind of was doing more of this pre-sales, sales engineering stuff at our last company, and I'm fairly good at that. So I continued to do that here at Endeavor. And again, like I said, my business partner is much more on the operations and like process and things like that. So she handles all the HR, the team kind of management, and marketing as well. We kind of brought that in-house and started doing that, and we're managing other people, but so those were kind of once we found our individual strengths, and actually, oh, not just strengths, but like interests as well. Uh,
Yeah.
Again, I'm not interested in doing the process stuff that much. I'm not sure if I should ask her more if she's actually interested in it. She's just good at it. So
She's probably fairly interested if she's still doing
I
it.
would think,
Complaining, right? Yeah.
right? or she knows how bad I am at it, and it's like
And she's like, no,
it
I
could be
can't do
that.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be
we
worse.
have been working together for 10 years, so we do talk about when we're frustrated, but sometimes it's like I'm just going to do this because just, I know I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. No, that's really cool too. I know it's so important as well for us to really love what we're doing as well. Because it sounds like even when I talk to you before and now that you guys really don't have a significant quantity of burnout.
No, not really. Definitely
Yeah.
as far as like people stick around, we've stuck around. I think it gets hidden a little bit as a owner. It's like it's we've gone through burnout individually. Thankfully, for the most part, it's usually one or the other.
Yeah.
So that helps. Make sure the other person takes some time off, type of thing.
Oh, that's nice. So you guys kind of step in for each other when that occurs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure neither one of us take enough time off, but still the ability to take time off with a partner like partners like we have,
Mhm.
we have no problem like taking a week off or 2 weeks off. We've done individually as well. Again, all of our clients know the other person exists. Typically, they're not with us on a daily basis, but they know the other person's around.
Yeah.
So then when that gets swapped out for a week or whatever, no one really cares.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. I mean, that's also a high level of trust that your customers have to be able to go from one person to the other.
Right.
Yeah. And so your partner must have put in some pretty cool systems to be able to have you guys walk away from things and be okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've never well, I guess we have both walked away a
One
couple
to
of
2 weeks is pretty solid. Yeah.
taken time off, as two of us. We take a week off during Christmas, like whatever the last week of the year is off.
Yeah.
We try to do 4th of July, but it's not really, it's hard middle of the year. It's when a lot of things get done. Um, December's a little easier because there's no one in the office anyways. Like
Yeah.
the people we're working with typically.
Yeah, a lot of people like to slow down during December.
Yeah.
Yeah, in any business. Even though sometimes it's funny, I'd love to do things more in December, just because even what I do, it's like December's a great time to start planning for next year. But
Yeah.
like everyone's
I've
like, we're
started
taking time off.
Yeah, I've started taking the week before the last week off so that I can work
Yeah,
the last week because it's the easiest. Not like it's easy, but it's the best week to like really get things done, really focus for like because no one's around, no one's bugging me, type of thing.
yeah,
And I can actually plan for the next couple of weeks when everyone comes back.
yeah. No, that's very cool. When you take time off, are you a take time off kind of guy, or do you still work when you're from home?
No, no, I am weekends and vacations, holidays. I take it off. I have
Okay,
my
it's a
phone.
nice balance.
I will look at emails. I probably shouldn't say this, because people don't know. I don't respond to emails, unless if it's super urgent and I have to respond. That's one thing, but I'll forward it to my partner if I see that she's not on it,
Mhm.
or someone on the team. But I don't respond to questions and things. I let people know that when I'm not there, and they have to respect that.
Yeah, no, I actually do that too. I secretly check my emails, but like I don't respond unless it's
Yeah.
urgent.
I
Yeah.
just don't want to get back in with 500 emails.
Yeah.
Like part of it
Yeah.
is just deleting all the, not spam, but like all the newsletters and things that I'm supposed to be learning, type of thing. It's like
Totally.
all that LinkedIn notifications. Like I just want to not have those at least.
Yeah, and get rid of everything. I unsubscribe to things so much. So much. It's crazy.
I wish I
Uh,
did that more on a regular basis. I do that in batches when I just get frustrated on a Monday. It's like, why do people send them? Because I'm on Mountain Time, you're on Pacific,
yeah.
right? So why am I coming into the office with like 30 emails from different product companies? Like then
Yeah.
I get frustrated. It's like, nope, you're getting
You're
unsubscribed.
done. You're done. You're
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh, no, it's true. It's very true. Well, it's very true. It's hard to actually stay on people's email newsletters. So for those of you who have stuck with me, thank you very much,
Mhm.
because I understand how much we get flooded with
Right.
like emails and inbox stuff on a regular basis. Yeah, and I'm curious too. So, even when you bring a client on, right, and you're evaluating if a client is a good fit, like how do you guys figure out if a client is a good fit for you?
Well, if they'll pay. Now, So part of the sales process, and it's not a document, it's just one thing that I've identified is like you can get a good idea during that process from my perspective of the
Mhm.
communication, like how much information you were given, what they're asking for, how if they're demanding things right away, type of thing. Um, and then if the company has the types of problems that are actually going to be a long-term fit for us, because we do work with very small companies as well. And we're very happy to long term, but if they're just looking to, switch from a one-off developer and it's like, well, they haven't had any problems, but they just want to come to us because they heard about us or something like that. It's like,
Mhm.
well, I'm not going to really fit. Like if a one person was doing fine, then there's no way that a team is going to do like you're not going to see us as doing better, basically. Even though, I would feel like normally we would do better than a one person development team. Um, so those are quick things, but a lot of the demanding type things around like timelines. Again, we do things really fast and like there's a lot of high pressure. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the
Mhm.
things that are like unrealistic expectations and unrealistic demands. If those keep coming in, it's, again, early on during the sales process, pretty quickly you can understand that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. It's funny because I mean, the sales process to me, I love the sales process because
mm,
that's when that comes out.
yeah.
And you'll just listen to kind of what people want and what they're sharing, and you'll try to educate them, and then they don't hear it, and you're like, I can't do this for you. If you can find someone to do this for you, that's great. But like, this isn't going to happen the way that you think it's going to happen. But we can work on it this way. And if you're up for like a more realistic sort of dynamic, we can go for it. But yeah, the sales process is probably one of the most amazing for being able to weed out like I can't live up to that promise. I don't think anyone can. You know? Yeah. And not because like people aren't capable. Like I think that's a godly promise. Like
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So it's quite fascinating. And I'm curious too, when you first started the company, I'm sure you've learned so much, like you've grown so much since then. What would you say you wish someone had told you, either one thing or a few things, before you
Yeah.
co-founded this company?
I would say that so I had experience doing what I do. At that point, I had about 20 years of experience doing web development, 8 years of working at a consulting company. I thought, well, I can do that on my own with no boss. Of course, I could do that. Had no clue what it meant to like the whole parts of running a company
Yeah.
around like the payroll stuff, the finance stuff, the work, the cash flow, the actual sales part. Like I did sales engineering, but I didn't do sales and I didn't do marketing. Um, all those parts, and doing the work, and making your clients really happy, like that was not on my like radar of, oh, I would have to do all those things, all the time sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and then I mean, obviously you learn how to balance that and learn that you can't do some certain things. You actually do need to hire individual companies or like fractional people to do certain things, and they're expensive, but they're not doing it, 40 hours a week. They're doing it 4 hours a week or something.
Yeah. Hey everyone, it's Carly. So, if this conversation is really hitting home and you want to get a real snapshot of what's working and what's not in your business, head on over to my website in the tools and tips section and you can have the business performance health check. In just about 15 minutes, you're going to see where the friction is and where your next growth opportunity lies within your company. Yeah, it's really interesting. I was just talking to a new entrepreneur. So, I was doing some work with this individual and they had those expectations. They're scaling their company, they're doing a lot better. But then when you talk to them about what it's going to look like for the next stage based on what they're scaling, I keep saying, you cannot handle this on your own. I want you to sit with me right now and like break down what that looks like. And when we broke it down, like it was just like overwhelming for him. And it's like, okay,
Right.
who can you delegate to? Who can you hire? Who can you kind of step this off to? Because you will not be able to be the one that runs the ship. And it's interesting because this particular individual had a very large charge with like not wanting to delegate, which I know some people have a hard time. What were some of the things that helped you to be able to actually hand some of this stuff off so you could grow the company as necessary?
Yeah, I think the experience of just work experience for me, I ran teams. I had a team of 50 people. I had to I had to like step in when I could, but delegate 95% of like the work, right? Or something higher. So I knew that that had to happen. So when you get into like the ownership and the leadership, like the true leadership of a company, I knew that it had to happen, and I knew that it would be okay, could be okay. Um, it helps a lot when 50% of your kind of ownership is delegated to another owner,
Mhm.
versus, like executives and things like that. Like I know a lot of people run companies with, well, they'll bring in a lot of like a leadership team. Um, and I think I could do that still today, but I don't know that I like it would be easy compared to what I had to do when we were starting the company as partners and then grew the team underneath us.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm working with someone who's doing that right now. They're scaling
Yeah.
their company. It's actually it's just been really fun to like watch him grow it. But he has his teams and then he expanded that and he led all like the main team, right? And then after it expanded to multiple teams, he started putting managers to manage those teams. And then he just manages the managers. And now he's working on getting managers to manage the managers who manage the teams. But we're kind of like finding different ways to creatively stay connected with everything that's going on the lower end that would be important for him to know while not having like too much information. But it's cool. Like it's really cool, I think, to see how like all those skills you had with the managing the team of 50 individuals just translate to managing like the managers in that sense.
Somewhat, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
it at least gave me the experience of knowing that it can be done, and what I
Yeah.
can trust. I guess I can trust the process type of thing. It will
Yeah.
work.
No, it's a great experience because I think sometimes entrepreneurs and business owners, they actually don't come from that same background
Mhm.
and they don't get that same experience that like the possibilities of what can occur, and they're just like, well, I don't know, I've never done this before, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
grow it from zero to what you are at that point, and that was your experience. And it's like,
Yeah. And you're like, well, I have done this before and we can mimic this in this
right.
company. So let's go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very cool. And what would you say entrepreneurship, having a business has taught you the most about yourself?
Um, I would say that taught me. I think that hmm, there's things that I've learned, but that's a little different than like it taught me. I think I definitely have a lot more weaknesses that I thought I had 10 years ago. I would say that for sure.
Yeah.
I had a decent ego, being a good at my job and good at kind of running a team of what I was doing. Again, I kind of talked about this, like not knowing how many other things I had to do. A lot of those other things I'm not very good at. And I have to like admit that not on a daily basis anymore, but I had to at one point, and now accept that there probably is going to be more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you are 100% accurate. Building a business is an incredibly humbling journey.
Right.
Yeah. Any ego that we have eventually gets slammed. We may build it up again occasionally, but it really quickly gets slammed
Yeah.
as we move into those next stages.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm curious too, is when you think about how your business is going to transform in the next 3 years, 5 years, like what's on the horizon for Endeavor? What are you guys up to?
Yeah, I think, well, this year we got hit pretty hard with AI, the changes in software development.
Yeah.
Not that AI is doing it very well, but companies are still trying to get it done that way, and there's a lot of kind of layoffs and things like that. So we had to restructure. Kind of restructure is a bad word because it's really just refocusing on what we think we're going to be doing in the future. I think we'll be doing more of the consulting work, going into the future, that'll build back into. We're going to be working with AI tools. Our teams that will grow will work with the software development AI tools. Right now, it's just not a need because internal companies are doing it themselves.
Mm.
But at the same time, we can be providing the consulting around the projects, around like how to use the tools, because my partner and I
Mhm.
have been using the tools for a couple of years now. And we can actually provide that. Whether we'd only do that, I'm not sure. I think again we'd probably
Mhm.
transition into more of the actual kind of development services, but we'll see as this year finishes out, and next year starts.
Yeah, I'm curious too, because so your industry is impacted by AI. Mine's definitely impacted
Yeah.
by AI, and it's really fascinating because I do agree with you. Like, I love AI. It gets like does so many cool things, gets you places, but there's a level of there's a high level of challenge with what it's given out in
Yeah.
especially certain places. So for me, I have some clients who have left and gone to AI for coaching instead, and it's interesting because they're starting to slowly shift back. And I think that the pizzazz with AI, almost this infatuation of this machine that can solve every problem and do everything is starting to fade. It's starting to fade in my industry with the coaching dynamic. And I figured it would because I was like, this guy's really smart. I was like, eventually he's going to realize he's not getting the results he wants.
Mhm.
And they come back. But I'm curious if, as well as you're starting to see that shift in kind of your niche, your society.
Yeah, we are. I
Mhm.
think part of it is we've had a couple of things happen this year where I think there were people on teams that not the individuals weren't needed, but the work that they were doing wasn't necessarily needed anymore. And now I took kind of a stopgap where it started doing it, but then it wasn't doing it well. And then they realized, well, we didn't need it anyways, type of thing. So we're still going to deal with that for a little while. But yeah, the idea like AI, I need to find this again where it was like a graph of like the more AI is like telling, and this is mainly LLMs, but it's the same thing on the coding tools. The more responsive it is to like, it sounds like it's actually right, and it's
Yeah.
really telling you it's right. It's really not. Like it's the worst at that point. And the more you kind of question it, yeah, I mean, we all interact with enough, but it's like the "I'm sorry, you're right" is getting
Yeah.
old.
It's funny. I don't know what your AI chats look like but mine are better now because I understand to a greater degree.
Mm.
But there was a lot of swearing,
Yes.
profanity. There was a lot of frustration and just being like, "Why are you lying to me?"
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting. But I
Yeah.
tested it out. Yeah.
You've told me this 3 times that I'm right. Now just
I'm
do
not
the
right.
thing the first time, please.
Oh, no, and I try to like program it in a specific way. I got so frustrated I learned how to do it on my terminal on Apple. Like I have an
Mhm.
Apple Mac, and so I was like, okay, I can't get past their programming and it's making me crazy. And I was like, maybe it would be more proficient on terminal. And then I started to get to the core roots of the terminal and I was like, nope. I was like, everyone's unless I create my own AI, which I'm not going to because it's not an investment I want to make. It's like I can't get rid of the base programming that's making it behave in such a way that's oddly pleasing.
Right.
Yeah, it's hysterical.
I'm now, I mean, I can go on this rant forever, but now I'm getting more and more responses of I can't do that. I don't have access to doing that. It's like,
Yeah.
but this is in threads for weeks that I've had it be doing these like research and things like, and now all of a sudden you can't, and then I ask it, well, you just did it up there. It's like, well, and it'll tell you, no, I've never been able to do that. It's like,
Yeah. The other thing it's doing, which is interesting, is they're changing the programming on a regular basis.
mhm.
And we forget that this is a brand new technology.
Oh
And
yeah,
so, yeah, when it first got launched, like it got launched in a very specific way with very specific programming. And then, everyone thinks it's amazing. It's like the next best thing. And I agree, there's part of it that's the next best thing, but everything comes with its challenges. And we're starting to see more and more the challenges that arise. And then every time they do it, they start to change the base programming. And then things that were working before are all of a sudden not working again. And ironically, sometimes I'm like, man, I got to find something else. Like I actually have to go to a different AI with different programming because
yeah.
now this one doesn't work for me anymore. But they're just doing it to protect the company. And so it's a real interesting space that we live in. But I think eventually what people start to do is it's like I think after all these problems are coming up and people are not thinking of it as almost like this godly machine anymore, is that we're starting to see it for what it is. People are asking more questions. People are realizing that it still needs overseeing. It's just like any literally employee, like your AI requires like some sort of overseeing to make sure things are running smoothly and simultaneously, unless you're like created it from scratch, which, huge companies are probably doing it. But yeah, simultaneously, it's like, what does that look like? How does that happen? Are we using it wisely for the right purpose? Is it actually going to be accurate? And I've seen some stuff that people put out when they rely on AI, and it's tricky because then they don't double check it. And you're like, you said what? Like, whoops. Uh, so that'll be really interesting.
I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
the accuracy thing, like I think the hardest part initially for most people and for me as well is like the speed that it came back with. You almost assume that it must be accurate. It's
Yes.
like why wouldn't you just take the extra double the time and then get me more accurate data? It's like no, it just gets faster every time with the less accurate response.
Yeah, it's wild. I imagine as a developer that makes you crazy because you're probably very meticulous with things.
That's yeah, I mean it's very obvious when it's not accurate. I mean to when we're looking at what it's done, the hard thing is some of these tools, some of these systems do so much
Yeah.
on a prompt and people don't even look at that. And it's like
Yeah. Yeah. I have a very type A personality, so I'm very like meticulous with it. And I'm like, you are not working. Uh, okay. So I'm also curious as well. When we were talking before, you had mentioned that your exit plan had shifted from shut it down eventually to build something worth handing off. What triggered that change inside you?
I mean, part of it was again, kind of going from the last company to this. Well, I was just going to build something that I could then walk away from, type of thing. And then realize as you get into it, you have teammates, you have people that are, clients that you worked with for a while. It's like, well, like I kind of want to have the same, like being able to have someone that has worked here for a while grow into a model where they are able to take over the company. I mean, some people see it as a legacy. I don't really see it like my work is not my legacy. I mean, I've been building websites all my career. Most of the websites are only on the archive site. Like you cannot even get the ones that I built. Same idea with the company. I mean, it'll eventually get merged into something and rebranded, but having the people like getting their experience and then having them be able to run a company would be more ideal for me.
Hmm.
I think. But I think that's going to happen in different ways than I expect. Like I could see me come like us getting merged into another company and then I grow more. I
Hmm.
have plenty more, like we discussed, I have plenty more things to learn about running a company. So
Yeah, that's very cool. And how would you say that your day to day has changed based on you shifting this dynamic from, hey, we're not just going to shut it down, like we're going to exit, and who knows how we're going to exit? Like, how does your day to day change?
I do a lot more, and my business partner, she and I do a lot more on kind of running the actual business and kind of doing the marketing and overseeing the marketing or overseeing the operation side and kind of LinkedIn stuff.
Hmm.
We're doing a lot more of that. Before we were very much in the projects, basically team lead of the projects, account management type roles, and just doing the work
Hmm.
and stepping away to do the other things. And again, allowing other people to do those roles is big for us.
Yeah, that's very cool. I really appreciate you coming today. I think this was a really fun one. I really loved your culture dynamic. I think you guys created a very unique culture there, simultaneously with kind of sticking with this very cool niche, and mastering what you do, which I really appreciate, by the way. That's one of my favorite things. I like to work with the best because they always teach you a lot of things. And I'm curious, is there anything else that you would love to share with the audience before we close off?
Not that we're not making a big offer or anything like that. We do have our own little podcast. It's more fun.
Oh
Not that this
yeah,
wasn't a
this
lot
is
of fun.
so fun. I forgot to say this
We
one.
drink we
Yeah.
dine on our podcast. It's called Boozy Browsing.
Um,
We do work during that session, but it's a fun way of kind of reviewing the current web, current kind of projects, and kind of how to laugh at things that are going wrong, basically.
yeah, while you guys are drinking, you and your
Yes.
partner. Yeah, I actually had a look at it. I forgot to mention it, but that one was really cool. Yeah. So you kind of get to see the other side of you guys as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Less
beyond the
much
business.
less serious.
Yeah. So definitely check out his podcast. What is your website for anyone who also wants to go to your website?
Yeah, so it's Endeavor, ndevr.io. And obviously, if you find me on LinkedIn, Matthew Dorman, Matt Dorman, happy to connect, happy to answer questions too if you're just curious about certain things. No
Yeah.
charge.
Awesome. And we'll put all of Matt's information that he shared in the show notes so you guys can make sure to connect with him if you're listening to this and can't write anything down. So thank you so much again for coming, Matt. This was really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, I appreciate it.